Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Mike.
It's our News Digest unit.
Okay.
This particular story, we're going to spend all of our time on this one. I think it's a really great idea. You know, I have to be honest, Mike. I frequently look at the Philippines and I think, wow, they get hit with everything bad.
We have a lot of typhoons down there.
A lot of typhoons do a lot of damage.
Earthquakes.
Oh, yeah. So I thought this would help, you know, if you're building up your trees, especially when you've already cleared away so many. I love forests. It's probably my favorite thing in the whole world. Not the beach. I like the forest.
Ah, okay. Yeah, it is a big problem, not just in the Philippines, but around the world. More trees getting cut down to create new farmland and places to build homes. But of course, as I'm sure most of you guys out there know, trees are also the lungs of the world. They help to, you know, produce oxygen, get rid of carbon dioxide.
Clean the air.
They clean the air. They're good for people. I think I read a study recently that this Japanese idea of tree bathing, just going to the woods and sitting and, you know, surrounded by trees, is actually really good for us. You know,
brings your stress level way down.
It's good for your heart. It's good for your blood pressure, all that kind of stuff. So trees aren't just things that you know, hang your Christmas decorations on or climb or get apples from. They're also really, really, really important to the world. So here's an idea that's coming from the Philippines where young people, as they graduate, as they go from being students to becoming adults or to becoming, you know, workers, they're going to be planting trees.
Yeah. And, you know, it's a part of their lives when they're starting something new. Why not plant some new trees at the same time?
Yeah.
Let's talk about what this idea is all about. It's a potential new law that might be passed in their legislature. We're going to go ahead and read through today's lesson, guys, and then we'll be back to talk about this new law that's getting a lot of attention. The government of the Philippines is considering a new law that will require Filipino students to plant trees. If it passes, elementary, high school, and college students will have to plant at least 10 trees each in order to graduate. While the proposal has yet to be made official, it's already been approved by part of the Filipino legislature. Provided that the law is passed, this could lead to the planting of at least 175 million new trees a year. According to the law's sponsor, even if only 10% survive, this will result in an estimated 525 million new trees per generation. Students can't just plant trees anywhere they like, though. The new law states that trees chosen must be appropriate for the location, climate, and soil. Trees will be planted in existing forests, protected areas, and other areas chosen by the government. What's more, trees native to the Philippines are preferred. The law hopes to address the Philippines' deforestation problem. Since the start of the 20th century, forest cover across the islands has dropped from 70% to around 20%. Forests have been cleared for urban expansion, and while the government has tried to curb this, illegal logging is still a big issue. Deforestation has led to an increased risk of floods and landslides. It also contributes to global climate change. In addition, the new law will hopefully help bring a greater understanding of the environment to future generations. Interestingly, the Philippines already has 2 laws requiring its citizens to plant trees. While all 3 laws are clearly good, it's been suggested that they be consolidated to make them easier to follow. Perhaps this will happen before the new law is eventually passed.
All right, so let's have a look at our article. We can actually start right there at the top with the title, Filipino Students Might Have to Plant Trees to Graduate. All right, so we know we're talking about the Philippines, and yeah, Filipino is the adjective that we use to talk about people and things that come from the Philippines. Notice the PH in the country name becomes an F in the adjective for things from the country, so don't make that little spelling mistake, but of course the sound, PH and F, is the same. So Filipino students might have to plant trees to graduate. The might, yeah, well, it shows us that they're still thinking about this. It's not a law yet. That would just be Filipino students have to plant trees. The might tells us that maybe in the future. And graduate, we should talk about that word. Graduate is when you finish your course of studies at a certain type of school. Once you've spent 4 years in high school, passed all your tests, gotten all the right grades, done all your homework, and your teachers are happy with what you've done, they allow you to leave the school and go on to something else. Maybe another type of school, maybe become a worker of some kind. Most people will graduate from high school and then possibly go on to university, and then you will graduate from university after a few years, and so on and so on. A person who graduates is a graduate. All right, it's a different pronunciation but the same spelling. So, Filipino graduates might have to plant trees, in other words. But in this case, it's saying that in order to leave the school, it's almost like an extra little bit of homework. They have to plant a tree. And that's what the first sentence tells us. They're thinking about a new law. That explains the might in our title. And then it says if it passes, it's not just college students. That's what I might have expected. But it says if it passes elementary, that's younger kids, grade 1 to grade 6 or 7, high school, grade 7 or 8 up to grade 11 or 12, and college, that would be university students. So I guess if you're a normal Filipino student, you would be planting 30 trees through your life and by the time you're in your early 20s, because it says you'd have to plant at least 10 trees each. So 10 times 3, elementary, high school, college, would be around 30 trees. That's actually pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
The world needs more trees.
I love trees.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention we don't typically talk about graduating from elementary school, guys.
Well, we do these days. I saw kids graduating from kindergarten the other day.
Oh, my goodness. Actually, my little niece did. They had a little graduation ceremony.
But you're right. It's just kind of for the family and friends.
Yeah, it's kind of a little silly. But high school, because some students do not go on to college, and that's great. Maybe they have a job waiting for them, or they're going to do something that's more in the technical field, or they're going to go on maybe to vocational school. They could do that too. But that's 30 trees if you end up graduating from elementary, high school, and college. Well, the proposal has yet to be made official. They're just working on it right now. It's already been approved by part of the Filipino legislature. So if you approve something, you officially say it's acceptable, it's satisfactory, some sort of process could move ahead. We're talking about their legislature, which is a group of people who are all politicians, and they represent the citizens in their country, and they get together and they pass laws that then we as citizens, say I lived in the Philippines, have to obey. So that's the legislature. The piece of law or piece of legislation is the actual law that is written up. You can put an S on law, but you do not put an S on legislation. Okay, a piece is the measure word, a piece of legislation. So, provided that the law is passed, this could lead to the planting of at least 175 million new trees a year.
That's great.
Sounds like a huge number.
Yeah.
Provided that means this is conditional if this happens. In fact, I could just use if. If the law is passed, this could lead to the planting of a lot of trees. So, provided that this has to happen first for the second part of the sentence to then go ahead and be true. So we've got a law sponsor. If you sponsor something, you support it, you're backing it. Sometimes you provide money if you're a sponsor.
Sure.
Maybe you're a sponsor for a baseball team.
Okay.
You get to put your name on their uniform or on their stadium, and you give that club baseball team a lot of money.
There you go. But in law, in government, if you're a sponsor of a law, that's probably a politician. And this might have been this politician, his or her idea. They're kind of pushing it. They're getting other people to help. But they were sort of the one who came up with the idea. And they're the main person trying to get this law passed. So according to the person who's most involved, most interested in this law, the sponsor, even if only 10% survive, so of that 175 million, 10% would be 17.5 million. So even if 17.5 million of those trees, only that number survive, that's still a lot of trees.
Oh, it's a ton.
This will result in an estimated 525 million new trees per generation. A generation is around 25 years, the time it takes for the children to grow up and have their own children. So 500 million trees every generation, basically.
Wow.
That's what it would result in. When something results in, that's what happens. All right? At the end of all the action, when everything's over, that's what happens. Oh, the game was really exciting and it resulted in my team winning. Or that was a great plan you came up with. It resulted in success for our company. So we did all these things, all this action in the game or in the company working on a plan. And what came out of it? What was the result? What did it result in? Whatever happened, the end thing. And an estimated 525 million trees, it's a guess. It's a good guess. They've done a little bit of math, but it's hard to know an exact number. But this is a very close number to what they think, the number of trees they think will be planted. Now, I'm estimating that we're around halfway through, so we should probably take a quick break here, go in and check in with the Chinese teacher, and then we'll be back with more about planting trees in the Philippines.
大家好，欢迎收听 English Digest， 我是哈利。今天我们要阅读的课程是 Unit13 News Digest。文章的第一段提到，菲律宾政府正在考虑一项新法律，要求菲律宾的小学、中学和大学生每人种植至少10棵树才能毕业。我们看到第一段的第3句 ，While the proposal has yet to be made official,It's already been approved by part of the Filipino legislature. 虽然该提案尚未正式通过，但已得到菲律宾部分立法机关批准。此句的连接词 while 相当于 whereas， 用来表示语义的转折。while 放句首时有虽然的意思，例如 While Mark is quite easygoing, Jeff is hard to get along with.虽然马克相当随和，杰夫却很难相处。While 放句中有然而的意思，例如 Some people enjoy rock music, while others find it too noisy. 有些人喜欢摇滚乐，然而其他人认为摇滚乐太吵。要注意，此句的 while 不可以用 however 或 nevertheless 取代，因为 however 和 nevertheless 是副词，无法连接两个完整句子。我们接着看到第一段的最后一句有一个过去分词 estimated， 过去分词 VPP 和现在分词 VING 都有形容词的功用，可以用来修饰名词。VPP 表示被动， VING 则表示主动。在本句中 5.25 亿棵树这个数量是被估计出来的，所以用 VPP estimated。 我们再看到第二段的第3句有 existing forests，森林存在是主动语态，所以用 VING existing， 而 protected areas 地区是被保护的，为被动语态，所以用 VPP protected。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. We've got something happening in the Philippines that I think is a really good idea, and that's when the Filipino students graduate from different levels of school, like elementary school, high school, and if they go to college or vocational school, they're asked by the government, or they're thinking about this plan at least, they'll be asked by the government to plant at least 10 trees each every time they graduate. And you notice here it says at least 10 trees. So it could be 20 I'm curious. I guess they have to come up with the money themselves to pay for those tiny little trees. You got to really take good care of baby trees when you first plant them. They need a lot of protection. So maybe they could actually volunteer to help take care of their trees as well. So we've got this proposal. It's not quite yet official, but it's been approved by part of the Filipino legislature. And if they actually pass the law, we're going to end up with a lot of new trees in the Philippines, which will help because they've lost a lot of their forests. Now, we're moving on to the second paragraph here, guys. Oh, before we do, I wanted to mention this word estimated is the past tense of the verb to estimate. Notice that the pronunciation is estimate. But if you're talking about the noun, an estimate, maybe someone tells you, oh, for me to give you a new bathroom in your apartment, here's the estimate. I think it's going to cost quite a bit of money. That is pronounced estimate. And the verb is estimate. Kind of like what Mike was talking about. Graduate, the verb, and graduate, the person. Sorry, we do a lot of that in English. I apologize. So students can't just plant trees anywhere they like, though. They can't buy 10 trees and then plant them in their own backyard, I guess, is what we're saying.
Right.
The new law actually states or says quite clearly that trees chosen, whatever they choose, must be appropriate or suitable for the location, the place that they're being planted, the climate. You wouldn't want to buy a cactus, for example, that would be better in a dry desert type of climate. And you also have to consider the soil or the dirt. That's very important for plants to grow and flourish, do really well.
Right, absolutely. You don't want people just walking through the park throwing tree seeds everywhere, because if you have enough trees already, then planting more will just make it harder for the trees there to grow. So you have to do it in kind of a scientific way, and I'm sure they have people there that you can talk to. When we talk about a location, it's just where something is, all right? That's a location. So if someone says, hey, you got to come to my party next Saturday, you might say, okay, great. What's the location? Is it at your house? Is it at a restaurant? Is it at a hotel? Where is it, basically? That's the location. And it says trees will be planted in existing forests, so where they already have forests, protected areas like national parks and nature preserves and stuff like that, and other areas chosen by the government. So this isn't really to, plant more trees around your house or plant more trees on the corner of your street or something like that. They want the trees where the trees are needed. And it says, obviously I would say, but we should say it, what's more, trees native to the Philippines are preferred. Yeah, we don't want, as you said, cactuses from the desert. We don't want Christmas trees from Northern Europe or something like that. We want Filipino trees because, it's the Philippines. So basically, they're doing it in a really smart way, not kind of just as a silly thing, hey, plant a tree and graduate, but in a way that, will really help the environment for many, many, even hundreds of years.
Hopefully, yeah. Yeah, if it's native to the area, it's already done very well in that area.
It's from there.
It's from the Philippines.
Yeah.
I'm a native of the state of Arizona. That's where I was born. So they're trying to find trees that actually have already been proven to do very well there. Moving on to the next paragraph, the law hopes to address the Philippines' deforestation problem. Yeah, if you address something, guys, this is the verb, and it's not the address that you write on an envelope or an email address that we often talk about. To address a problem or to address an issue means you talk about something that is a problem. You need to maybe make a formal speech to a group of people, or maybe your boss calls you into the office to address your tardiness. Maybe you're late for work too much.
Oh, so you're talking about something important, something that needs attention.
Yeah, deforestation, of course, is when a lot of the forests have been cut down.
Yeah.
Sometimes they cut them down because they're trying to build new stores or malls or whatever. So we've lost a lot of the forests, especially in the Philippines, as you'll soon find out.
That's right. Let's find out how bad the deforestation problem is there. It says, since the start of the 20th century, forest cover across the islands has dropped from 70% to around 20%. So if you could go back just over 100 years, back then 70% of all the islands of the Philippines were covered in forest, mostly kind of jungle forest, as you would expect.
Yeah.
But these days, it's 20%. That's a lot. They've lost more than half of their trees. And of course, it's probably a problem that is continuing. It hasn't stopped. So not only do they have to stop cutting down trees, they also need to plant a lot more trees. Now, as you said, this is a problem that is an issue all around the world. In Europe, in North America, South America, too many trees are being cut down, often for many of the same reasons. And they get into that in the next sentence. Forests have been cleared. In other words, trees have been cut down for urban expansion. And while the government has tried to curb this, illegal logging is still a big issue. Yeah, urban expansion, cities getting bigger. Urban is an adjective that we use to talk about things to do with the city. If you live in the city, you're an urban person. If you work in the city, you're an urban worker. Most people, if they live in an urban area or a city, urban transportation might be buses or MRTs. The opposite, countryside, would be rural, R-U-R-A-L. Rural areas will have farms and forests, and most people who live in rural areas will probably drive a car because they don't have, buses and subways out in the country or in rural areas. And expansion, getting bigger. When something expands, it gets bigger, and we use expansion to talk about things that are getting bigger.
Yeah, part of the problem, of course, is that the government has tried to curb this or restrict it or get people not to do that. They're trying to restrain people.
More rules, more laws, make it more expensive to cut trees down, that kind of thing.
But of course, as anything happens in this world, a lot of people don't care. So there's a lot of illegal logging that's still a big issue there.
They can't put police in all the forests to give tickets, right?
They can't. We can't
just cut the trees down
protect every single tree. So people go out there and illegally cut down these trees. If you log, it just means you're cutting trees down and then using the wood for other things.
For money.
Usually you're building things, but deforestation has led to an increased risk of floods and landslides. You can imagine if there are no trees to stop water and the mud that comes down, if you have a lot of rain, wow, a lot of floods really come down quickly, and that mudslides, landslides, those are very, very dangerous, as we've seen in our own country when we have bad typhoons and big rain. It also contributes to global climate change. In addition, the new law will hopefully help bring a greater understanding of the environment to future generations.
There you go. So it's good for kids to understand about trees and how important they are when they're young.
True.
So hopefully they, carry that with them and remember that as they get older. Here's something kind of surprising. It says, interestingly, the Philippines already has 2 laws requiring its citizens to plant trees.
Yeah.
So this is a surprise. We're reading about a law that says, graduating students must plant trees. Well, actually, in the Philippines, they already have 2 other laws or rules that say people must plant trees. Maybe it's like if you get married, you have to plant a tree. Or if you, build your own house in the countryside, you have to plant a number of trees or something like that. So anyways, this is not a new idea, is the point here for the Philippines. But it does get a little confusing. They already have 2 laws. Why do they need a third? Well, the next sentence says, while all 3 laws are clearly good, a law about planting trees is generally a good idea, it's been suggested that they be consolidated to make them easier to follow. Hey, instead of having 3 laws that are mostly the same but a little bit different, why don't we just take all 3 laws, make one new law that covers all of that territory, that covers all of that ground, or, that follows all of the rules of the 3 down into one. To consolidate is to take several things and to form them into one or into a smaller number, because then it's easier to follow.
And perhaps this will happen before the new law is eventually passed.
That would seem sensible.
Yeah, I think so too. Eventually is one of our vocab words. It just means, it's an adverb, first of all, guys. It just means something that happens at the end of a long process. Maybe there have been some delays or series of problems. Or it could just be time that has passed by. When I first moved to Taiwan, I honestly didn't like soy sauce, but eventually I learned to love it, and now I love it too much. Okay, guys, someone who always is making good tasting food is our Chinese teacher. Let's listen.
文章的第3段提到菲律宾政府想要订定这条法律的原因。我们看到第3段的第一句 The law hopes to address the Philippines' deforestation problem. 这项法律希望解决菲律宾的森林砍伐问题。Address 在本句做动词用，表示处理的意思。例如 We are all curious about how the president plans to address this thorny issue. 我们都很好奇总统会如何处理这个棘手的议题。其他表示处理的用字还有 handle, H-A-N-D-L-E. Betty can't handle the pressure of her new job. 贝蒂无法处理新工作带来的压力。Tackle, T-A-C-K-L-E. The government is determined to tackle the unemployment rate. 政府下定决心要处理失业率的问题。Deal with或 cope with. To deal with the financial crisis, the company has borrowed some money from several banks. 为了处理这个财务危机，这间公司已向数家银行借钱。我们接着看到第3段第3句的后半部分有一个动词 curb。Curb 的意思是 to control or limit something in order to prevent it from having a harmful effect. 也就是抑制、制止、约束的意思。例如 Many people think drunk driving should be more severely punished to curb this behavior. 许多人认为酒驾应受到更严格的处罚，以制止此种行为。文章的最后一段提到菲律宾已经有2项法律要求其公民种植树木。我们看到最后一段的第2句 While all 3 laws are clearly good, it's been suggested that they be consolidated to make them easier to follow. 虽然这3项法律显然有益，但有人建议将它们合并，使其更容易遵循。一些表示建议、命令、要求或推荐意思的动词，如 suggest, advised, recommend, require, command, demand 等。这些动词如果接 that 名词子句，子句里要用 should 加原形动词。should 可以省略，只留下原形动词。例如The teacher demanded that we hand in the paper on time. 老师要求我们准时交作业。Demanded 虽然是过去式，但是 that 子句的动词片语 hand in 前面省略了 should， 所以用原形动词 hand in， 而不是过去式。以上就是今天的课程，谢谢大家收听。
Thanks for joining us, guys. We hope you learned a lot about some of the laws that are happening in the Philippines.I'm curious as to where Taiwan stands on this issue. Do we have a similar law? Are we thinking about it? I'd be interested to find out. Maybe someone can write in and let us know.
That's a good question.
Yeah. For English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Mike.
Bye.
Take care.